Tim.
All right, meeting is open. Are we being recorded?
Yes.
Is Mark or Tim in the waiting room, Joanne?
So again.
The attorneys, are they in the waiting room?
All right, I did sign up. There we go. All right, so I would make a motion to go first to new business.
Can we just wait to make sure legal is joining?
All right, I'm gonna hold on that. We have anyone in there, Joanne? No?
I let them both in. Good, Sam.
Is it Markinson?
Is it what? It's right here.
I can't read it, I'm sorry.
Howard, Wade Watson.
Okay, so then no.
So no, okay. So then I'll hold on that and let's go. We don't have meeting minutes because you're a computer. So motion to table examination of select board meeting minutes of May 12th until next meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's start some of the appointments while we're waiting for attorneys to log on. So motion to appoint Paula Billadu to zoning board of appeals for the term June 16th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to appoint Amy Hagstrom to the cultural council for the term June 16th, 2025, June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion?
It's a 3-year appointment.
I just have the 1 year for here. Do we want it to be 3 years? I don't know what's on their certificate. Let me take a look. Yeah, we just have, oh no, I'm sorry. Through the term June 30th, 2028. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to appoint Jennifer Dubiel as animal control officer for the term July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Nicholas Chuzano
Yeah. I don't know.
as assistant plumbing and gas inspector for the term July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to appoint Joseph Henning as veterans agent for the term July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion. Ugh.
Who skipped Dougie?
I
Yeah,
skipped,
that one
I
got
skipped
skipped.
Dougie. I didn't mean to Dougie. Motion to appoint Douglas Emo as Watson Park groundskeeper for July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Still no one on there, huh? TJ, I'm passing these to you to sign. And I'll give them to Jackie. Oh, I should have started with welcoming you. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Welcome, welcome aboard. Congratulations. On your big win.
Looking forward to it.
I'm glad. All right, so then we have the Hilltown Community Ambulance Association contract. We look at. Right, 26. Here there is 2 copies to sign. Oh, they're stapled together. Oh, no, there's a copy. Okay. All right, so we are already aware of the price because we budgeted it and passed it in town meeting. Were there any other changes that we know of?
I don't believe so, we still need a representative.
Okay, maybe we'll reach out to Adam and see if there's anyone on the fire department that wants to represent. Any other volunteers? The motion to approve the, Hilltown Community Ambulance Association contract for FY 26.
Second.
This aligns what's in the budget. right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there enough signature? All right. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah, they're both waiting to be let in.
So I would motion to go to new business, A, water commissioners, discuss the questions the water commissioners have presented to the board and clarify roles between select board and water.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So who do we have? We have Tim and,
Tim and Mark. They're not muted, right? They're not muted, right?
I didn't mute them.
Mark and Tim, can you hear us?
just to make sure I'll list the list of questions so I can go through. They came through from Jasmine. Okay, thank you.
Next.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, hi, it's Mark Rich.
Hi, Mark, how are you?
Good, how are you? Sorry about that. A little bit of trouble with the electronics there.
That's all right. So we have, water joint select board, everyone's here. I was just gonna start going through the questions, Mark, that the water commissioners outlined in their last meeting for us.
I know, Carl, I know when Christine sent me the agenda, there were other matters on the agenda. Have you already covered those? Or you jumping forward?
We covered some and then we made a motion to move to new business A.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry, we did it all legit.
Okay, I just wanted to check in because I think Tim was waiting. He'll probably be joining us shortly because he knew that you had other matters. So he's probably waiting a few minutes before he'll join. But we can certainly start.
Okay. So the first question that we had received from the water commissioners was what authorities does the water commission have and what do they not have? So they're looking for clarification on their authority and responsibilities in relation to the select board to ensure operational autonomy and transparency for water users. They needed some legal clarification on its hiring and oversight authority regarding employees, since there seems to be some confusion. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, what I have is that the water commission's scope is operational with regard to matters such as water distribution, infrastructure, and rate settings. Whereas the select board is personnel decisions, including hiring, firing, job classification changes, benefit eligibility, would fall under the select board purview. Is that correct?
So yeah, I mean I know that there were a number of questions provided, and with respect to kind of that division of authority, the water commissioners, as an elected body, they are a policy setting body for the water department. They would determine general policies for the operations. They would also be the fee setting body for fees of the department. In terms of hiring and personnel matters, of course, the water commissioners have to work with whoever is part of their department, and so they would hopefully be integrally involved in the process of determining who would be hired for part of that department. But ultimately, as you know, the select board is, as the town's chief executive body, is charged with oversight of personnel determinations, including hiring and firing of town personnel, because the water commissioners are, again, a policymaking body, but don't have specific personnel authority in that regard.
Yeah, so the way we've done that in the past is just like any other, some of the other board, they would, if there was a position open, they would do interviews and bring candidates to the select board to do the official hiring.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, go ahead. Mitch.
Have we gotten away with something? Because I've been here 6 years and we've certainly hired people without any insight from the select board. Even when we were joint with Chester for a little bit, we were doing the hiring there too, and I don't remember having to go to the select board at all.
Well, I know the shared water operator was appointed by the board. I don't know if you guys came to present it to us, but it was presented to us and the motion was made by the board to hire that position, to fill that position.
Okay, but for the most part, you're just gonna take our recommendation unless you have some sort of conflict with that person, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And I don't think it would be a conflict with that person. It would be a concern, because I think that we're talking about our previous superintendent. It would be a concern with, policy and procedures being followed or not followed. Some of the other things I have, so the water commissioner does not have legal authority to alter a town employee's position from part-time to full-time or benefited, to accept or reject a resignation, to reassign job responsibilities without formal approval, or to approve a leave of absence without select board's knowledge or acceptance of that.
I think one thing we need to, and I think this is a question that came up further on in this, in the questions that were presented, this issue of quote unquote, accepting a resignation. I heard you mention that, Kara.
Yeah.
And there is no statutory requirement for acceptance of a resignation of a town employee. If an employee resigns, it's not a situation where the town through the select board could reject a resignation and require that person to come back to work. And also, the resignation becomes effective once presented. So I know there's this back and forth about what was said and what was done, and I think we're trying to avoid getting into specific individuals and specific circumstances, but there may be some confusion. There's a statutory provision, and that got raised by someone about the filing of a written resignation for a town official, and the water superintendent who does not serve for a term of years and is an at-will employee is not an official of the town. That individual is an employee of the town.
Does that answer that question for you guys, or do you feel like you want further clarification on anything regarding that?
No, but suppose that he said it was a verbal thing, and then he wanted to rescind it. What would he do? And would it only be the select board that makes that decision whether or not to accept the drawing back of a verbal resignation?
Again, as I said, there's no requirement for. Oh, Tim, do you want to jump in on this one?
I can jump. Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what Mark said, there is no requirement that it be accepted. Now, practically speaking, if an employee comes in the next day and says, geez, I messed up, I shouldn't have done that, and 12 hours have passed since he resigned, I think that's probably a different situation. But if a week or two goes by and that the employee doesn't report to work, he acts as though he resigned, that's a different situation, and the employee or the board, the select board in this situation would be okay to assume that he's resigned because he hasn't shown up to work. He hasn't come in and said, oh, gee, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to do that, or I was confused. Again, it's situation dependent, fact dependent. And we would look at all those factors. Obviously people have a change of heart, and this isn't a sort of a definitive rule, but there, like Mark said, there is no requirement that, it be formally accepted. I think we see a lot of movies and TV shows where, somebody tries to resign and the president doesn't accept it. that really doesn't apply in these circumstances. And so we have to be able, the town through the select board has to be able to rely on that representation, that somebody who says they quit means that they intend to quit.
Tim, you're in HR, right? You do the HR stuff, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Good, good. So I guess then we overstepped our boundaries as water commissioners when we put him on a leave of absence with no pay.
When did you do that?
Was that after Brad, was that after he resigned?
Yes, that was whenever he asked the chair, he said, "Oh, I made a mistake. I really shouldn't have done that." Well, the chair said, "Well, you got to give me something in writing." Is that what you told him?
Yeah.
So and I guess we overstepped our boundaries at that point. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, just
Yeah,
to jump
so
in. Okay,
yeah, go
you can
ahead.
finish him and then I'll jump in. Sorry.
Yeah, so all those HR functions would be and should be handled by HR, or in Blandford's case, the town administrator, or whoever's handling the personnel matters. And so if there's a claim for a medical leave or family medical leave or some sort of sick leave, vacation, that should all be administered through the town administrator's office so that there's consistency among all town employees. Now, obviously, if the superintendent comes to you and says, "Hey, I have a medical issue," you should tell them to notify the town administrator so that that she can provide the correct forms and put them on the correct pay status. And so that would really be an HR function.
Well,
And then to jump in though, again, this whole thing of telling the employee to put the resignation in writing and putting him on leave, that seems to be generated by a misunderstanding of Chapter 41, Section 107, that talks about, again, the resignation of a town official and having to have that put in writing. That statute is not applicable in this case.
yes, yeah, and then like what Mike said earlier. So obviously the water department has been operating totally out of their scale for the last 10 or 15 years because they've been hiring and firing employees at will. Just through the water department, because they figured since they signed their checks, it came out of our funding, that they were under our previews, from what I understood from the past. Now, like I said, we're proving now that this is all wrong.
Well, I think I want to be careful. We're not looking backwards. We're trying to look forwards.
Correct. That's what I'd like.
And so matters that happened in the past are in the past, and there could be acquiescence from the select board to actions taken by the water commissioners. We just, obviously, this is all brought up because of specific, more recent incidents that were undertaken through the select board. And so I want to be careful not to try to set the clock back, Brad.
No, I get it. I understand. I just said this was how we got to where we are today.
Yep. Yeah, and I think we need to work again, and this isn't. I think we're on the same page. We need to work forward, meaning that both boards need to work forward in a cooperative manner. Because, and Tim and I have spent a little while kind of rolling this over, because obviously there are significant issues here, but it's important because the water commissioners are an elected body, elected to run the water department from a policy perspective. In order to implement that policy, you have to be comfortable with the personnel decisions that are being made. At the same time, and not that we're talking about the select board sitting at the top of the food chain, but in some ways they do. We're answerable to them, as you know. But in fairness to you, it's appropriate for them to work with you, and I think that's what they intend to do with regard to hiring and firing and filling the positions. But there are times when a particular individual, things might reach a point where the select board sees that it's necessary based upon HR concerns, contracting concerns, you have procurement issues, other issues that come up, that it's time to try to address those. And in the particular case that we've been alluding to, that was the intent of an executive session, to try to address some issues. And I want to be careful because, the individual has rights, and I don't want to get into a discussion about a specific individual, but that's why the select board goes through, or why any elected board would go through an executive session under that particular exemption, to allow a discussion of those kinds of matters that affect an individual employee, so that could be addressed without having that discussion in open session, which might have a detrimental impact on the individual and their rights. And that's not what happened here. And so we know what happened from there. But I think that's an effort by the select board to try to be cooperative in its process, not necessarily going to the point of firing someone, but trying to address things through the executive process to try to get personnel matters back on track. At least that's my understanding.
Well, I know the conversations that I've had with members of the board, and this is just myself personally. I think they are willing to go forward with this and work together as a group and as a team to make this, if I remember correctly, our discussions that we've had off and on. But I think we're all looking at the same thing as far as that part of it goes. It's just how we put the pieces back together, because
Right.
That we know these particular items and the legislation part of it for MGL and stuff, now that we know that part of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're a small town. We all need to work together in the best interest of the town. That's ultimately our interest. Our interest is not solely like the interest of one board versus another, and one department versus another. We want to act in the best interest of our shareholders, who are the town residents.
Yes, so they get the best bang for their buck.
That's right.
Right, exactly.
So I have your next question,
Okay,
was you were asking what the difference is between an appointed water commissioner and an elected water commissioner. You guys are elected.
correct.
Yeah.
There is an appointed water commissioner too. Not here, but
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah. So that's that comes up a lot, because there's always the suggestion, well, an elected board has greater authority than an appointed board. It depends on the circumstances, and a board that carries out statutory duties that is appointed for a term found in law is not subject. Oh, it looks like we lost. Did we just lose Tim? Tim must have had enough listening to me. So an appointed board appointed for a term found in law pretty much has the same authority as an elected board. Massachusetts law is very interesting with respect to appointments for terms found in law. If you have a statutory or a charter provision that sets the term of an employee, that employee, unless otherwise provided in the same law, can't be removed. And the case law that we look at with respect to the definition of an official of the town actually specifies that if an individual is not merely an employee, but serves for a term found in law, that's when the concept of official versus employee is triggered, because that person holding a term found in law is cloaked in greater authority. So elected officials are elected for a term. Officials appointed for a term found in law hold that position for the period of that term. And in terms of the water commissioners, obviously what we're dealing with here is an elected body, so it's really more of an academic question. But in my opinion, for these purposes, an elected board, elected for a specific term, obviously, or an appointed board appointed for a term found in law, they essentially have the same authority.
Thank you, Mark. So I have the third question.
I feel like you already answered it.
I feel like it was answered. I'll just just want to double check that,
Sure.
so you were told that the select board voted during our last meeting to accept Gordon's resignation, and you were looking for documents to, or recordings of that decision. I think that they.
These two guys were here, said they remember you voting to reprimand, but not
The
voting.
warning letters, but I don't recall
So I think that Tim and Mark.
because you were asking
actually
us
no
whether that was
vote.
actually, are they serious? Because remember you asked, because you asked him, did they just do that?
Oh,
I don't
Oh, you're
know.
talking about the meeting where.
Yeah.
We don't have to vote to accept his resignation. I
No,
think
we
that's
realized
Mark
what he
did.
just said, yeah.
Okay.
We realized what he just said, but like you said, are they serious? Remember you guys were asking that, and we didn't even know whether they
Well,
were.
we were asking, cause the comment was made that there was no more water department. So then we asked.
We didn't make that.
No, I know. So then Christina clarified, Brad and Pete, are you still interested in being on the water?
Here.
And they both said yes.
Yeah.
You both said yes. And so
Yeah.
that was the comment at the
Yeah.
time.
But there's where a little bit of a little bit of a difference would arise, Brad. Let's say in the heat of the moment, you had said, I'm sick of this, I resign, and you walked out. That resignation can't simply be accepted by the select board. They don't have authority over you as an elected
Gotcha.
official. So until you put your resignation in writing and either send it to the select board for filing or file it yourself, until it gets filed with the town clerk, it's not effective. And I remember years ago, I think I mentioned this to Christina. There was a member of the select board. I'd have to find her name. It was a number of years ago, Brad, and she resigned from the select board. And then at that time, the Board of Selectmen. This was prior to you, Kara. It was a long time ago, and she filed her resignation with the town clerk, and then she emailed me and said, it was a few days later, may have been a week later, and said, oh my gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. Can I rescind that? And unfortunately, what I had to tell her is, under the statute, once she has filed that with the town clerk, that becomes operative and official, and she can't rescind that resignation. And it was unfortunate because again, I think it was the heat of the moment. So we all have to remember, you got to be careful what you say in the heat of the moment. But there is that additional protection for an elected official. So Brad, if you got ticked off at what I have to say, and you say, I can't stand this stuff that town council is telling me, I resign, and you walk out until you file that resignation with the town clerk, you are still the elected water commissioner. But if say Christina is tired of hearing me talk and she says that's it, I resign, and she walks out, that's a resignation. So that's where there's a critical difference between an elected official and or an official generally and an appointed employee.
Thanks, Mark.
That makes
Sorry, Christina. Sorry, Brad.
That's fine, we're good.
The next question was, when the board signs off on bills from water, why can they get pulled by the select board? Issues are raised about regular bills being pulled from the select board after approval, causing delays in payments to contractor. It is suggested the process of handling regular operating expenses should be streamlined to prevent confusion. So when you sign off on the bills, all the bills through the town come through us on a warrant, and we go through the warrant at that point and then sign the warrant.
Yeah, but the reason that I asked that question, that actually came from me.
Mhm.
Sorry, Mark, this came from me.
Yeah.
So what it was we're pulling out of our fund, our enterprise fund. We're not pulling from town money.
Mhm.
We're in charge of the enterprise fund. We're in charge of making
Yeah.
sure that that's taken care of. So when we've decided to pay that bill, because that's what we've decided is going to happen
Mhm.
with our preview in our operation, then why is it that someone else has the right to pull that bill? If it was town money, I would agree 100%.
Mhm.
Can I just ask, Brad, are you referring specifically to the truck bed? Because I don't know. of
I don't
anything
know
else
that,
was pulled.
anyone, it doesn't matter whether it's that or something
I don't
else.
know of any other one that was pulled.
I have looked at a few,
There's been a couple that's been put back
Around-
before you.
Yeah, so around the time that there was some money being spent out of a grant inappropriately, we were really watching that because we had been told we won't be allowed to. have
Right,
any
and that would have been
more.
out of a grant, that would have been your preview, because that came out of
But
a
we do
larger.
have the final say on the all town warrants, whether it's out of the
Well,
water.
that's why- that
department
was my
funds
question.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that gets into an accounting issue. Sorry to jump in, Kara. That definitely gets into the basic process for bill paying. As you know, an enterprise fund is essentially an accounting mechanism, and the water commissioner is going to have policy oversight over the expenditure of the enterprise fund monies. And so the water commission certainly would be approving the bills, but ultimately bills have to go to the town accountant to make sure that services were rendered and materials ordered were received, because there are significant limitations on payments. A town cannot expend funds in advance. We can't make down payments. We can't make advance payments, things like that. So they have to be reviewed. The buck stops with the accountant who can stop things. And then ultimately everything is signed off on. I think, Kara, you receive a warrant with everything that goes out from the town for ultimate approval. And it's important to make sure that all monies are accounted for, all procurement procedures are undertaken, all authorizations are given, because again, the select board is also the contracting authority for the town. So they sign off on contracts. Christina, just for information, Christina is not the contracting authority for the town. She's the town administrator answerable to the select board, and she reports to them. She can't bind the town in contracts either. Ultimately, it's the select board that binds the town, has that executive oversight of all expenditures of the town. And when we talk about enterprise fund money, Brad, we got to be careful, because when we say it's not the town's money, I know you're talking about the town being, more the select board and that end of the business. But we talk about the town globally. Obviously, enterprise funds are funds of our shareholders, the taxpayers.
Maybe I said that the wrong way, Mark. I mean.
No. I got what you meant. I was giving it the broader perspective.
Right, it's the accounting thing, that's all.
Exactly. No, I got what you meant, Brad.
Now, Mark, it isn't at the end, if anything that is overexpense from their trust or their accounts, the town is responsible.
That is correct.
Is that not true?
Well, we can't overexpend. And the critical point here is the town cannot sign contracts in excess of an appropriation. Chapter 44, section 31 specifically says that it's a violation of law to exceed available appropriations. So when we talk about exceedances, that's another job of the town accountant. And that's why specifically we have a statute that requires for construction contracts that you actually have to have the town accountant sign off to say that there are available funds. That's to protect a contractor in a large project circumstance. But when you have a situation where funds are authorized through a contract, be it for a piece of equipment or a service or construction of a building or construction of a water line or the bridge and dam issues, those have to the contract cannot be executed unless there are funds available to pay for that contract. So I do get a little nervous when I hear comments about what do we do if we overexpend. We've got to make sure that we have, if we don't have the money in the enterprise fund to pay for that particular service or good, that there's an available appropriation from the town that's specific for this purpose, and that the town accountant can sign on, basically saying money is available from this line to this line, so that the contractor knows they're going to get paid.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
If I could just
Go ahead,
say,
sorry,
I
go
think
ahead,
at the end here, with, the concern about pulling a bill, immediately upon pulling that bill, you guys should be notified.
Correct.
So we can sit down and have a discussion
Correct.
around it.
Mhm.
Yep.
What may be the misunderstanding, or is there no?
Or maybe
funds,
if
or
we have
whatever.
something that's maybe questionable in our thought,
Right.
we come to you guys to say, hey,
Yeah, absolutely.
we're not sure about this, but what do you guys think on
But
this?
you need to know immediately, because there's a vendor involved.
Right, there has been times when we've been notified by the vendor, not by anyone else.
Right.
But that's where I get really, really nervous, because the bill should not get to the point of being pulled before the funding for the contract is assured. Because if you've signed a contract, I mean, there are a lot of fine points of municipal finance law, and I've been doing this for a while, and I've seen just about every fight that comes up. But the idea is, again, under the statute I cited earlier, Chapter 44, Section 31, there should not be any sign off on a contract that exceeds the available appropriation. So if you follow that logically, if you've signed a contract for which there is an appropriation, there should not be a bill being pulled for lack of funding. Because if there's lack of funding, you've exceeded available appropriation.
I think
So-
that we're pulled, Mark, not for lack of funding, but for that example, that grant, it was inappropriate use of grant funds. So there was that concern, and then there was the concern,
Home section or the wrong spot.
specifically with the truck bed, because there was directions given to follow through prior to that being.
But I think
So we haven't,
I think what we want to be careful of, though, Kara, is again pulling if and this gets into cooperation and understanding. If excuse me, if we have already signed the contract, incurred the services, even if the grant is being improperly expended, but services have been rendered, it raises the concern that now you have a vendor who provided services for the town and expectation of being paid, and the bill is being pulled because the grant wasn't properly applied. And again, expenditure of the grant. This is another requirement in Chapter 44, Section 53A. And don't worry, there's not going to be a test on this later. It's just kind of fun to throw these things out there for your edification. But Chapter 44, Section 53A specifically says that any department, which would include the water department, can accept a gift or grant, but the expenditure of the gift or grant must be first approved by in a town, the select board as the chief executive. So that's why we shouldn't wind up in a situation where grant funds have been promised and the select board has to pull the quote unquote the bill, because the select board should have in advance authorized the expenditure of this grant. And I know this is something that in a lot of municipalities is honored in the breach. We had to be honest, this really blew up for a lot of municipalities when ARPA funds were made available, because ARPA funds were grants from the federal government and then through the state and down to the towns. And in some cases, we're talking about many millions of dollars. And so in a lot of, think about a city situation, in a city, a mayor and a city council have to approve the expenditure of funds.
Mhm.
And for many of these cities, the grants were not approved by the city council. And suddenly you had millions of dollars in federal funds coming in, and the city council said, wait a minute, we want to have a say, because this is a huge amount of money, as opposed to just letting the mayor do what the mayor usually does. So you have that. Then you have towns where departments would regularly receive small grants and expend them for, I see them for purchase of a piece of equipment, or sometimes it's a grant to buy flags or things like that. And the select board, would essentially allow it without specific authorization. But the reality is, under Chapter 44, Section 53A, you have to have that executive authorization before you could expend $1 of a gift or grant.
So the way I'm understanding you say it is, for example, the the grant that was received by the water department for the shared water operator services. The money that was spent on the truck, that purchase should have come before the select board prior to the purchase being made for us to approve it coming out of grant funding. Is that correct? Oh, we lost you, Mark.
No, somebody muted me. I don't know if that was a comment or not. But I don't know if I deserve that. But yeah, so when the grant comes in, and let's say the water department secured the grant,
Yeah,
the water department would be able to, like I said, accept the grant, then would come to the select board, present that grant, and receive authorization to expend the grant for specific purposes. So the grant would be held by the town treasurer in a separate account, and it would be expended for the purposes of the grant with the approval of the select board.
so for each purchase, we have to approve it?
Technically, yes, you could in advance if you're presented with essentially how it's to be expended. You can approve it for expenditure in accordance with the following. There are different ways to do it, but there has to be some authorization.
To make sure that it aligns with the grant.
Right.
But it
And
does-
also, to be honest, there are circumstances where the town might receive it's gifts and grants. So putting aside a grant from the federal government or a grant from the state, you could receive a gift from a private individual for a purpose that a town employee may say, hey, I got this gift, and then the select board looks at it and says, that's not something the town wants to do. We're not going to authorize expenditure, and that gift is rejected. You could have a grant that has terms in it that are so difficult. The grant could be from a private entity, it could be from the federal or state government, and it may have some terms that the select board determines is not consistent with a select board policy or town policy, or is something that the town simply can't accomplish. Matching funds or something like that, where the town is not able to do it, and the select board doesn't authorize expenditure because, for whatever reason, the town is not amenable to what is tied to that grant.
Okay.
But the only thing I wanted to say is that a lot of this is process related breakdowns, right? Communication breakdowns.
Right.
Because, even when we approve a grant, there's so much that's going on after that we have to put it on our follow-up to have discussions about it, because the SCADA grant is a perfect example.
I think we should
We
start
were
doing that.
$500,000 into the project before
Right.
we even started getting the money. So,
Right.
and that money.
That should have come around sooner. That should have been turned
Absolutely.
around sooner.
But there was breakdown in the process
Right.
handling the grant, there was breakdown in spending in the grant,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying it doesn't
I think-
end with a
Mhm.
Yeah,
discussion
I
over
think,
getting a
I
grant.
think we just need to work together as a team to go forward with this.
Yeah.
I agree, Brad. I think that's the key. I think if there's one takeaway from this,
Yeah.
that really is it. And I think that the reason we're at this point is that the two boards have been acting somewhat in their own spheres in a vacuum.
Yes.
And so the water commissioners should be coming to the select board probably more frequently to communicate on these issues, so that the select board is brought up to speed. And I think Christina does a fabulous job, but she should not be expected to be the sole conduit, because there are things that are really not strictly within her purview. And to have the two boards communicating, then tasks can be doled out to Christina, to the water superintendent, whoever that may be, and things can be handled more appropriately, so that when bills come before the select board for sign off on the warrant based upon the recommendation of the water commissioners, there's already been the vetting of that grant or that expenditure and that process, and everybody will be on the same page.
Yes, and I agree with that. I do.
Mark, just a quick question. Like some grants come through and they have a purview, it's for this specific thing and that. And if the town or the commission, whatever, who got the grant, bless you, misappropriated that money, can they pull, they can pull that grant and then the town's hung for that money, is that not right?
Well, usually the grants have fine print, TJ, and yeah, very often. I mean, I was just meeting with a town this afternoon talking about funding for a particular project involving property acquisition, and now we're kind of scrambling to make sure that we didn't violate some term of a grant that could trigger return of state or federal funds. So yeah, you always want to make sure gifts and grants, they can be expended for the specific purpose for which they're given. A gift that's given without specificity, I write a check for $100 and just make it out to the town of Blandford, that goes into the general fund. But when I write a check to the town of Blandford for a specific purpose, be it to contribute towards the construction of the new fire station, or to buy an ambulance, then that, even though it's $100, it's not going to get you very far, but that would go into a gift fund. And what's interesting, DJ, in addition to that, when you look at certain things that are purchased under Chapter 30B, so let's use the ambulance as an example. Purchases made for goods under Chapter 30B, if they're purchased through gift funds, they're not subject to procurement anymore. So if I give you $1 million to buy a fire truck, you can go out and spend that $1 million without going through a procurement process. However, most of the things that the water department does, putting in water lines, repairing infrastructure, that's not subject to Chapter 30B, the Uniform Procurement Act. That's subject to Chapter 30, Section 39M, which has to do with public works type construction. Those grants are not exempt from that procurement process because that statute doesn't have that exemption. So that's why it carries some extra burdens. You have to make sure, like you said, TJ, you have to make sure that you're spending those funds specifically for that purpose and you're complying with law, because most of those grants say they have to be spent for the specific purpose and they have to be spent in compliance with law.
Thanks, Mark. All right, our last question we have is, what is the future for the water superintendent? So it said the commissioners discussed the qualifications and salary expectations for the superintendent position, noting that new applicants are unwilling to accept the offered salary of $90,000 a year. It will be difficult to find qualified candidates for the role. And there was a consensus that you were preferring the previous.
That's not exactly written, right?
Oh, okay.
I said in the meeting that in Westfield, we have a hard time finding somebody who has a D3, T3
For $90,000.
for $90,000.
Okay.
They turn their nose up at it. It's not enough. And
So,
we lost
So it's more
Gordon.
than that.
That's, we lost Gordon. I know you guys didn't want him, but it's gonna be hard to find somebody else with those qualifications. I mean,
So right now the position is a part-time position at 19 hours a week. I know that there's some confusion with hours that our previous superintendent was putting in at full-time with benefits, but right now it's part-time. The discussion was, do we want to look at creating a full-time position? Do you think that?
Well, we actually
warrants
wanted to
full-time?
do that,
Yeah.
is what we wanted to do, yes. We actually, that's why that got to where it got to. There again, not knowing where we were going to.
So, where we stand now in the budget phase, how do we go, and can't you, because you're finance. I don't know how we go about creating a full-time position if we haven't budgeted for this next fiscal year. What are your thoughts?
You're gonna have to do,
We'll do some-
We have a special,
Yeah.
we will be having a special town meeting.
To move funding from,
Yeah.
okay.
because you can't really do it without.
Yeah, we gotta look at what we got left for this year anyway.
Right.
Find out where it's gonna go in.
So we can take a look at the job description. And I would suggest that your next meeting, taking a look at the job description and seeing what adjustments you feel need to be
Can you-
made to
Yeah,
that.
and can you share what you're thinking? Like, if it's not 90, what is it? Would you, any thoughts?
I have no idea. I just know that.
It's hard to get anybody for water for part-time in any small town.
Right,
Most of the water operators are in their 70s or 80s. in most of these small towns because they've worked there forever.
Yeah, that's true.
And they've worked once you go to replace them, these small towns are shocked at what it's gonna cost them to bring people in.
Right, but I'm just saying. from
Anybody
a
with
salary
qualifications.
standpoint, right, for a full-time water person
Yeah.
with these.
And I think what we're gonna have to do here is, hire somebody that doesn't have the same credentials as Gordon and expect them to get them within a year or within 2 years.
So if you guys want to take a look at the job description, adjust it to what you think full-time will look like,
And send it back to you guys then?
send it back to us, keep in mind that that will include benefits, so we'll have to include that in moving funds at the town meeting, which I think last I checked was like 16,000 a year, but I think it's probably gone up from that. And then, like you said, Mike, what expectations are, I would also maybe look into what any surrounding towns are paying for a full-time, water superintendent, so we have an idea what would be something that, people would be interested in. And then we can take a look at that and we can post it.
And then we have to readjust our budget at some point in time.
But, so the other part of that
We do a-
conversation,
A town meeting and get approved.
Okay.
the other part of that conversation is making Steve the interim.
Yes, we had, as the three of us, we
Mhm.
talked about that, because
Okay.
we had to have someone
Yeah.
who would
Yeah,
take care of the day-to-day at the moment, because
Yeah.
all three of us have full-time jobs.
and Steve is currently full-time assistant superintendent,
Pretty
correct?
much.
I do think though, there's certain things that he can't sign for.
Yeah, because he's not had the experience for that.
And my understanding is he's close to the license that he needs, is that correct, within a few weeks of time?
I think, we're what, D2 or T2, D1?
He's D1 in full, T2,
Yeah,
OIT, 6 months out.
Right, but our system,
Bernie's primary operator, right?
yeah, Bernie's primary, yeah.
Right.
So,
And then secondary is Nori. And what do you got? You're D2,
T2, T2 in training and D1 in full.
okay.
so we're looking to, appoint interim water superintendent, but you wanted to maintain a full-time position.
Mhm.
So we were just discussing, did we want to, for the salary rate, put him at the full-time superintendent salary, or do the 19 hours assistant and then the other 21 hours?
Flip it here. So he would be 19. Do you guys want to pay him 19 hours a week at superintendent and the remainder at his normal?
Oh, yeah.
we
Yeah.
can discuss it.
Yeah,
We
we
have
discussed
to-
it.
we have to sit down and discuss that, and then come back with them with the
It
decision.
seems
on that.
right though.
But
You
it
wanna
does,
come in
it does. It
Next
does.
week and
And let us know what you
put
think.
that.
And I would, because he's been doing it, we would discuss doing it retro because he's been doing the job, right?
Yeah, right.
So, and I just would need to get something to payroll to make sure that he's.
How was that last repair? Did you?
Oh, yeah, no, everything, he let me know in advance. We did the reverse 911 and everything was great.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
advanced warning that the water was gonna
Thank
be up was definitely
Yeah.
very helpful. It's awesome.
But do we put you on the agenda next week and we'll just kind of like get through
So
that?
we'll do
Sure.
another joint
Sure.
meeting next week, okay?
Sure.
I think that was all of your questions. Do you guys have?
Hey,
any-
Mark, I got one
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah,
Chapter 40, section 4. Did the town ever vote that?
chapter 40, section 4 is not a local acceptance statute.
Okay.
What was your concern about that?
I was just curious because it's to do with water commissions and sewer commissions.
Chapter 40, section 4?
I'm pretty sure.
No.
General laws, chapter 40, section 4. Hang on a minute. 40N, sorry, I forgot the N.
That's a big deal, Brad. I'm actually not sure.
Sorry, I forgot the N.
Yeah, devil's in the details.
Yes, it is. You are correct.
We would have to check, you'd have to check with the town clerk, but I believe, if I recall correctly, Tim, I think you and I looked at this, that the Water Commission was established by special act. So I don't know that the town has accepted that statutory process.
That's my question. That's one thing I've been trying to find out. That was one of the things I was trying to look for. Because I did find the acts where it was
So,
the fire district.
Tim, I think you're mute. There you
Yeah,
are.
it's that so the town had a fire district that provided water back in like the early 1900s.
Correct.
That the fire district was they got rid of it by a special act in the late 1920s, and
Right.
then in 1929 the town voted to accept I forget the chapter, but it's GL chapter 40 section 39B, I want to say.
Okay.
And that statute is the general water commission statute
Okay.
that now governs. So now I believe the town is governed by chapter 41 section 69A and 69B. So there is not a special act that is in effect for the water commission, but there's a lot of history, I think.
Yeah, there is.
And
And
it's
believe me, I looked through a lot of it, and it
yeah.
didn't clarify anything for me. Let's put it that way.
It's as clear as mud. Even when a lawyer looks at it, it's.
But those statutes, and that, Tim and I were discussing this earlier. I remember that they were the convoluted process, but 41, 69A, and 69B outline powers and duties, which is consistent with what we've been discussing, and that might be helpful for you to look at, Brad. So that's again chapter 41, section 69A and 69B.
I got it.
Mike, did you have a question?
Just the last thing that was on here, is there going to be any complications with the one stops because Gordon's name's on them?
Oh. Okay.
What do
Unless-
you do, change, or,
We have the town overall sign-in, so that's
Oh.
how I was alerted to the grants in the first place.
Yeah.
We can assign somebody else, whoever you pick.
Okay.
You guys.
Just so you guys know, we did sign the RCAP paperwork that came through. I'm just looking for the name of it. So that we're moving forward with the project service plan.
Okay.
So
So what's
that was
their
our next step.
contact going to be? What's their contact going to be for us?
yeah,
I will scan that, send that back to Jim Starbird. I will copy you guys on it, so any further communications with him,
Sure.
you guys are being to copy on it.
All right.
And then there was a Wright and Pierce bill.
we're working
You're
through
good with
that.
that, okay.
We've figured
Yeah,
it
we
out.
figured
It's
it
7 and 8, and it has not been turned in yet because we were waiting for authorization.
Okay,
Because basically what's gonna happen is we have to authorize the work, the work's been done. You guys have to authorize
Yeah.
the signature, and then we have to turn around right away and then put in for the reimbursement.
And we
Yeah.
need that ASAP. We just
Correct,
talked to,
correct.
yeah, so Brad and I are gonna work on a lot of the accounting stuff together,
okay.
just to get through it, get it back to where it needs to be, and then going forward, it'll be. all
Okay.
set.
It should be fine after that point.
Yeah.
I think once we get to that part of it, I think it'll be fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
The hard part would be the other part, the day-to-day operation.
Do you guys have any more questions for legal?
Do you guys have any more questions for legal before? we
I
wrap
do
up?
not. Mark, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Same with you, Tim. It's been a while since I talked to you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
No, you're welcome. You're very welcome. And Jackie, I didn't get to say congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
I'm sorry I muted you, Mark. I didn't mean to.
Shit.
That's okay.
You're not the first one.
That's right.
All right, all
Thanks,
right,
guys.
so,
Thank you.
bye, guys.
Good night. Good night.
So then we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yes. You want to go with us then?
Yeah, and just send us the description, the job description. as soon as
Yeah,
you
we
have it updated.
can individually talk to Jasmine back and forth.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
Do you want it to be another joint meeting? Is
Yeah.
all of you gonna be here?
Oh,
I don't know. You gonna be able to make it or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Start to sweat a little bit.
Right.
Hey, I knew him when he was a kid. He was never out late.
Mike, Brown,
Yes,
is he on the? Okay, I think that there is a vendor here that wants to speak with you guys.
Sure.
So when you get to.
When I get to audience participation, all right, we can go there now. Let me see, hold on, where is it? Public comment. All right, so motion to go to number 5, public comment. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
One quick question, regarding the previous repair on Chester Road. You said that there was a reverse 911 call notifying that people that, hey, we're going to lose water on Monday. I was one of the residents, that didn't receive the message, so.
Are you signed up on,
I've done it numerous times. The online thing does not play nice. I personally gave my information to Joanne for me and my wife again. So how do we, is there any way you guys can put out like a test notification to see if we are
So-
actually getting?
can I just say,
Go ahead.
so I'm not super familiar with the system. When I send it out, I can only send it out to I believe there's 827
The
contacts.
entire, yeah.
I can't find like who's on Chester, so when I send something out, it goes out to everybody. And it's my understanding that in the past, people have gotten upset when they're getting things that don't apply to them, or if they get them too much. I would love to do a test. I'll see if I can do a test just specifically to yours. I can try. I don't know.
Yeah, I've
I
tried
only
as well.
asked 'cause I know I talked with Joanne when I came down. Yes, I was steaming because it was like, again, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did a quick repair and it was fantastic.
It was on Friday. I sent it out Friday. I don't know if that's.
Right, and I
Okay.
guess I wasn't the only one that did not get notified on Chester Road.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Yes,
you
Ron?
did send those numbers forward to Jennifer, because she's the one that enters those numbers.
Okay.
So hopefully it's fixed.
All right, so we'll see if we can do a test, Todd.
Okay.
Before we wrap.
Wait, there's a vendor though that needs to. Is there?
Oh.
Can I go?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Bob Watson, Bay State.
Oh, okay.
Obviously,
Yes, sir.
trying to figure out how we can get paid.
Well, that's going to happen. You're talking about 7 and 8, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
sorry,
what
did I say Wright and Pierce?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about when I said, we were looking to make sure that it had been signed off
7 and 8.
by the water department so that we knew that the work had been completed.
And
And
then they
then,
have a final signature. We sign off saying the work.
That had been done a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, and we've had a little bit of a conundrum
Snafu.
over the last
it's been,
2 months
Yeah.
here.
so they're sending it to us and we will get it in the warrant for.
So this
next
coming warrant,
week.
right? That's
Yeah.
what we were shooting for, right? This
Yeah.
next.
So you're suggesting that this hasn't even been processed yet?
Correct.
This is from November of 2025. No, I'm sorry. December, yeah, November of 2024 and December of 2024.
When did we?
And this board was aware of it in January 6th,
I don't
and
know.
nothing has been done since then. Is that what we're saying here?
I wasn't aware
Gordon
of it
had
until about 2
something
months ago
about this.
myself.
Well, from what I'm hearing, you're waiting for DEP approval, but, you know, as your town council was saying, that these funds are already in place.
Mhm.
So I don't know why DEP, you can get your reimbursement from them,
Mhm.
which is what you normally do, but those funds, and I have a signature from the town accountant,
Mhm.
that those funds are in place. We expect to get paid.
No, I agree with you 100%. Definitely.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
We just
this,
had.
You people have
just
had
a-
these things for a long period of time, so to say we're just getting them and we're just reviewing them and we're trying to catch up, that's just wrong. And we've got emails
So we
from back and
apologize
forth
for that. I
between the
mean, we
board.
apologize for it.
Christina.
All we can tell you is that Brad and I were in with Treasury just a little bit ago.
to
and
try to get
said-
this all
And made
done
very
and all
clear, we
fixed.
need to expedite these and get them done.
correct.
I
understand
would
that.
not.
This is probably about the 5th or 6th time I've heard this.
Oh, really?
So I really don't have much faith that it's gonna get done. That's why I drove 3 hours today to come to Blandford. To, you know, who is my contact now that Gordon's gone?
Robert
You might-
Bishop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your email doesn't.
I
work.
suppose, but I can't pay you. They
do.
All we need, all right, so here's the stuff, okay, so you do.
They're already
You can
done.
take my name if you want, because I'm gonna walk it through to make sure that you get paid,
Okay.
okay? Jackie Corey, okay, or member, right now I'm known
I was
as
gonna
my
say.
president.
Yeah.
I was the finance chair for the
Okay.
town, okay? Brad is gonna give me those documents, okay? He'll sign, say, yep, work's done. It's gonna come through and I'm gonna get these guys, we'll sign it. Okay, I think you have to sign it,
Mhm.
correct, as the chair?
Yeah.
From there, I take it over to the treasury and get it paid. we'll worry about getting our reimbursement.
Right.
That's us,
Correct.
but we'll get you paid.
I can't believe it's
I
that.
can send the ones that have already been signed off on,
Okay,
but
it's J Coury, JCoury @townofblandford.com.
okay.
There's no issue with them being 2024 that we have to.
No,
No.
they're not.
They've signed off.
It's all been
Fiscal year
signed off
25
on the
still.
grant, like
Okay.
I said, that's all part of that money, it's within that deadline. That's why I can't understand why it's taking so long for it to,
Yeah, and obviously.
To go around.
Stop
I don't
work,
know.
and we're not gonna-
Right, we don't want that
obviously,
either.
yes.
We need you to keep working, so yes,
Yeah, there's
okay.
things that have to be done, so.
Yes.
Jackie, thank you.
Bob, I've got your email, I'll send you an email too,
Okay.
so you have it.
This is Bob Watson?
Yes.
Okay. First time I think I met you, so.
No, and like I said, your emails, from the, Board of
Water
Water
Commissioner.
Commissioners came back to me undeliverable, so.
Yeah.
We were having some issues with that. I think we finally got that straightened out though. Last week, I was in with the IT and,
Yeah,
and,
okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
so, like I said,
I'll keep you posted.
I'll give you that information, you can give me an idea when,
all right.
You bet.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank,
Thank you.
okay.
And there was one last thing that we needed to discuss,
Yeah.
because Mike had sent an email earlier about the,
Oh, no, the fire hydrant.
Oh, the
Fire
fire hydrant.
so, it's full, right?
Oh, Ray,
Ray, your turn.
would you come on down? Now, wasn't that the situation where we used to hold them to stop work because we were concerned about?
But then they got payment again, because.
Yeah, let's try it.
But it went down, the price went way down since it was like originally it was
No,
3 or
we're not talking about that, you're talking about fire hydrants, yeah. that's
Okay.
what we're-
But
Ray, we're
we're
gonna talk about fire hydrant. There's a concern about, Mike, you go ahead, you wanna?
Well, I'm getting a little third party from Brad, but, I understand that you're not gonna pay for the fire hydrants that we had replaced.
That's what I was told.
I guess that the select board before I was here, you guys ended up in a meeting talking about that it was gonna be an insurance issue.
Well, that was kind of my question.
That was his
So
question.
your question is, do we file a
we-
claim with
yeah.
insurance?
Yes, that's what we were.
And they
That's what I thought the
hit
process
by-
already was happening on
It
that.
must have been plows.
They were hit by plows this winter?
No, not this winter.
Well, one of them was hit recently. Yeah. One of them was, because we spun around.
Well,
I know he had a dead one by the cemetery.
Yeah.
mhm.
That's been dead since I started.
Yeah.
So that's 4 years that's been dead for.
can I just say, I could swear that we took money out of the reserve to pay for 2 fire hydrants to be.
That would
That
have
does
been
sound
voted
familiar.
on at special town, oh, out of
But it
reserve,
was.
Yeah.
out of reserve, no, not special town meeting then. I can go and look at the,
I
Yeah.
swear we paid for those out of the town.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought we did too, because I thought this was already a
do you
deal.
guys know the
Done deal.
ultimate number, like that I'm looking for,
Like 3,500 plus.
It was like
Yeah, it was
$3,500.
all together,
We got
Altogether.
our-
installed, good to go?
Everything.
So that's the number I'm looking for,
Yeah,
35.
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah, we
You
got
know
it
the
done cheap.
vendors?
We already paid them.
Water main.
Yeah.
Coordinate,
Yeah, we already paid them out of water.
Can you check on
commission
that
funds.
and find out? and
Okay,
send
so
everybody
wait.
a note?
the vendor's already been
No,
paid by
that's-
water.
but that- We were just
Right,
talking about it
we're-
1 second.
Sorry, there's like 4 different conversations going, it's just hard to follow.
Yeah.
Just like-
Okay,
So you're
water-
saying you already paid it?
Yeah, we already paid it.
Okay.
So then the question is, water getting reimbursed for the
Correct.
payment of the fire, that's the question? That's okay.
Correct, and we
But
didn't know
by
that.
highway or by insurance?
Correct.
Or by the town, I don't know yet,
Yeah.
we'll see what, apparently there's some confusion as to whether or not money was already put aside for this.
Well, I
I'm
remember we
gonna look.
talked about it before.
But the money should go.
A while ago though.
Yeah.
I don't think there's, let me ask, is there any disagreement that they shouldn't get their money back?
No.
Okay, then it's a matter of getting you your money back, yeah.
Okay. That's all.
Okay.
I think you would always want to avoid the insurance thing,
Well, that,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, we don't want to,
but I know that we do that in Westfield,
yeah.
Yeah.
even if it's our DPW that hits it.
You
And it,
usually
yeah,
file
it has to
a
be claimed as, damaged property.
Okay, all right.
All right, thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you guys.
thank you guys.
Ray, you can move on down to the hot
Right.
seat.
Thank you.
I almost didn't even recognize you.
He's all cleaned up.
I changed it up a little.
Oh, baby face.
Yeah.
Nice hat.
It's actually, there's a drink that I ended up doing.
Thank you.
Bye, Pete. I hope you feel
I
better.
guess they want me over here, so.
Jackie, are you gonna call me or will you call
I am
you?
gonna call you.
When you want me, she's gotta turn that in on Wednesday.
Okay.
She'll be working Wednesday to do that billing, so they'll come in on Wednesday, so touch bases on Wednesday. If anything, I can meet you here.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. So we are back up to department reports, and we're looking at the highway report.
Hey, can you take the hat off only because you're being recorded?
Oh, now you gotta fix your hair.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a mess probably.
All right,
So,
all right. So Ray, we have, should we start here? Touch base on, I talked to you last time about touching base on some of the June 1st spots and see where we're at with them. With the goals. So I think that you had talked about this before, but if you just want to remind me that all Blanford roads being free of debris from winter months. We're good with all of
Yep.
those? Okay. I'm gonna just check it off. Talk about it. This is pathetic. And then the next one that we were gonna talk about, was looking at first quarter, so starting July, August, September, first quarter, for 2026, what your priorities are. So we're looking at for a list of priority areas for maintenance. What are your
There's
thoughts?
quite a few, honestly.
If you could,
I
if
can
you want to put
start
together,
reading them out to you and we
do you have a
can,
list of those?
it's not a finished copy because this is only just 2 pages that I got together.
Okay.
And I'd rather wait till next week so I can read you the whole
So I'm just
book.
gonna put,
Let's
yeah.
do that.
So if you just want to send it to us for next week and then we can take a look at it, that'd be perfect.
Because honestly, with Matt leaving, I've been crunching this after hours, getting as much done as I can and working with the guys out on the road.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff in town that I'm attacking at the same time while working and doing the clerical work inside the office at the same time. So I just want to make sure that is achievable for a group, like for the department that I would be holding after the 27th, I believe Matt is leaving.
okay.
Yeah,
I
okay.
am the only CDL holder right now, so between
Yeah.
driving stuff back and forth, jumping into the office, checking emails, it's very chaotic right now,
Okay.
but getting that done.
If I could, I want to ask a question, because
Go ahead.
it is a concern, right, with Matt leaving
Yes,
and prep for the winter,
yes,
because you have no one that is able nor licensed to do what you do, really,
yes.
right? So when are we gonna get that job posted?
Well, there's a posting on there
Is
is a
there?
posting right now on the town website.
Okay,
It's an older one, but it's still valid. It's never been taken down. I did have one inquiry, actually 2 inquiries on it, so I'm following up with them.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure that Matt is gonna, I know he ended up giving his his paperwork in and he's saying, look, thank you, but I want to make sure that he is gonna leave and I can't hire another person, so I'm in a position for Matt. But I am interviewing the candidates and I vet them out and figure out what would be a best fit for the department so that the crew that I have now isn't gonna end up going backwards rather than forwards.
I think we need to recommend that they have to be licensed,
Yeah,
period.
I do
Because
agree.
you can't do this whole town by yourself.
Yeah.
And we don't wanna
Yeah.
have to outsource the work when we
No,
got
no,
guys that
no,
are
we would
working.
never have to come to that. I can guarantee you that. If Matt and myself could run the town, 2 years ago between me and him, I have full faith that the crew right now could handle the town with myself and having help, for
Yeah.
the winter months. We
And
had
his last
this
day
past
is
winter.
when?
I believe the 27th, am I correct, Christina?
Oh, yeah, that's what he said in his paper.
Right?
Yeah.
27th.
Okay, and how does that normally work? Is that something that, Christina, you would take the lead in posting that job outside of just online with Blanford, but
So I did reach out to the Country Journal
Mhm.
and ended up
Okay.
seeing, I just have to write up a description, job description, and then, you know, send it over to her, so.
The
that-
job description should be
The
there
job description
already.
exists.
Right,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
that we have already
Yeah.
for Blanford, we have one in reserve.
yeah,
Really?
it's, you should be able to go right on the website and see all the job descriptions for all the positions. And Highway Department labor should be on there, so you can just pull that.
Okay,
And then I would suggest, does it cost to put it on Indeed? Is that where we typically?
Yeah.
It does
So, yeah.
cost.
I don't think you do. And I put that one on there for her. I don't think it costs anything.
I think we
The
have an
cost would
account.
go to Penny Saver or something like that.
Yeah,
we
Yeah.
can get it posted.
I think digitally, if we could get
That
it
would
on
be good.
Indeed, that would be good. Do you typically do that for us, Christina, or would the department heads, post it? I just honestly don't
I
know.
can do whatever you ask me to do. I don't want to be the one making the decision on which description gets posted and how it gets
Okay.
posted. But I can post it once you guys
Okay.
approve it.
Okay.
And especially with the payroll, the pay adjusted accordingly too is another thing that needs to end up.
Well, you
with
put
that.
internally, just so you know, it's not gonna be the full description. It's
It's just gonna be like a little teeny.
like a blurb.
Blanford,
Yeah, because if you try to put the whole thing, it costs.
It's gonna cost a ton.
so you can
And
walk,
the pay is gonna be based
Drive.
on their licensing. It's gonna be based on their, how much experience they
Yeah.
have. I mean, that's
well.
key, right?
I would definitely say it's the licensing. I don't think we can go off of seniority, cause you get someone that's 50 years old that's been doing
Yeah, you can't.
municipality work for 25 years. He's gonna come into the door, just like you have a talk with
So
him, he's gotta
seniority
start
here
at
is based on how long you've been here.
here, not other
So
towns.
seniority, when she says experience, she's not using the word seniority, she just means experience.
Well, that would be something that you would end up, looking into for making the decision on that candidate at that point over another candidate, which, yes.
So if you
But
just
the pay
want,
wouldn't change, I definitely we couldn't do that.
yeah, the pay is a whole nother situation. we need to
Yeah, we'll
talk about.
figure out the pay.
If you wanna just send like a 2-3 line blurb to Christina, basically that they can reference the full job position on, you know, you would put our website wherever they can reference it. And then Christina, if you wanna post it on Indeed, I think that that's a good one.
Okay.
There's probably a
And
lot-
our website.
And our website.
And
yeah.
we won't post it till Matt's gone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the next day it should be out there because we're gonna be in winter months before, I'm sorry to say, but you know, summer just flies.
I would like to say that I would like to do some fishing around other communities
I
and
mean,
towns and see if I
Yeah.
can snag someone from another department.
Just don't make any financial,
No, but it would be good to get someone that has those licenses
yeah,
and the experience.
Yeah.
CDL, definitely a must
Yeah.
at this point for this
Yeah.
position that we need to fill.
absolutely.
And honestly, you know, with the next steps going through is, I'd really like to see Mario getting in with the CDL, because he's really showing strong characteristics and strengths and
Isn't there
leadership.
a year wait? He's gotta, I mean, the other towns,
Yes.
I understand from doing a little research, the other towns are waiting 4 years to be able
Really?
to pay for that
That's a
stuff.
long time.
And the reason is because people will come here, work, we pay for it, and they go someplace else and make more money.
So
in a
does
big
the-
city.
Does the town have anything set in place so that
So yeah.
we do,
they've
we
been
have the
for
pro
4 or
rate?
5 years, they have to prorate and pay us back, but only the cost of getting the license, not, you know, anything else.
So the
that's
schooling
incurred.
though, that's basically it.
Right,
Yes.
Okay, so someone that, if they do come here, we pay them, they leave, then we have to ask them, hey, you gotta reimburse the prorated amount.
Yeah.
Right, also,
No.
if we're paying them to an hourly rate,
Mhm.
they're not working because they're in school, we don't
Yeah.
get that money back.
No, that's a
And we're-
loss.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's,
So that actually leads into the next goal, which was,
Yeah.
creating a list of the desired certifications for all highway employees.
I gave
he
you
gave you.
that
We
list,
got that?
that
Okay.
was in the list I gave you,
It's in here? Okay, it's in my whole packet.
yep,
Perfect, all right. And then also the seasonal goals, so what, we need a list of your goals for summer, which I sort of talked about with the first quarter, but this was, I think, more specific to just what your seasonal goals are for summertime. which I think ties into when you're gonna give us.
I was
that
gonna
first
say, we
quarter.
we
Yeah.
gotta merge this stuff into one thing, because what me in this position here, being able to do, seasonal goals should be broken down from what I'm writing down here,
Mhm.
like, we're not snow plowing in the middle of July.
Mhm.
We're working the roads, we're making sure that any emergencies come up, like, if we're gonna dice up seasonal goals to monthly, quarterly goals, it's just getting a little too much right now.
I think that
I-
the seasonal goals with just looking at what the first quarter goals are, in my opinion, seems like that's.
Putting the
Yeah.
snow plows away, making sure they're all clean.
Yep.
I would consider that a
Yep.
seasonal goal, making sure that all the ditches are cleaned out. Fall time's gonna come around, it's a no-brainer. You
Yeah.
gotta start getting the plows out, you gotta at least get one truck ready, small truck, one large truck. Get a sander in each of them, so you have something ready to go. It's,
Yeah.
Well, and that's why,
Yeah.
right, that's why
Yeah.
I did this.
Yeah.
Because it becomes easier if you just check off each
Yeah.
one.
All right, and then, so my next question is about, payroll and how that process is going. I know that, Joanne. did you-
Joanne reached out to you about an issue.
Payroll fixed the form for him. He made a mistake last time and he picked up an old form.
Oh,
That's
okay,
what happened.
There's,
When he brought it back to me, it was exactly like it was supposed to be. Everything was fine.
So
there's,
we're good
there
going
was
forward.
like 10 different payroll sheets that accounting has handed to the department over
Okay.
the years, well, couple years now, and I clicked the wrong one, trying
Okay.
to end up getting it together.
So you're good going forward?
I'm good with it, that's why I was
Did
like,
you
oh
delete all
no.
the old ones?
I even told Joanne, I went through, deleted everything in the computer.
Good.
No, I deleted all of them, and I have that one saved right on my desktop,
I
so
have the
I,
original in case he loses that one.
and so we're good there.
Perfect.
It was just, there's too much stuff on there, and going over with,
You'll get there.
yeah. Steve, he really, he helped me out with the computer, going through the whole process of everything. Vadar, we gotta meet up because something's going on with Vadar. I can get in, but I can't see any of my active accounts.
You can, it's just, I'll walk you through it.
That's what I,
Yeah.
if we can
You
end up
have all the
doing.
access,
I
Jeff,
set up-
you do too, sorry not to speak out of turn, but I'll get with you about that.
I set up both logins so that I'm verified, I'm in, so it's good. At least I have that now. Coming to crunch time at the end of the month, it's important. I wanna make sure all the accounts are in good standings
Yeah.
and
Okay.
not in the negatives.
All right,
What else you got?
I have two more questions. One
that's
question
fine.
is about, the chapter 90 money, the projects for that money. I know there was, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, I'm not gonna get it right. The bid we put in for the asphalt was 800,000.
Comes out to 12,300
Tons
and
of applied hot asphalt mix, and if you were to use anywhere close to that, it would cost over $1 million.
it would cost little over $1 million.
Yep.
The reason why I put that in is because I have projected roads, Nybrook,
Mhm.
Lloyd's. I wish I brought all the papers. Nybrook, Lloyd's, Gibbs, or Gore.
Mhm.
And from the amount that those roads add up to, that's that number. I'm not just pulling a number like my
Right.
previous predecessor did and threw it out there, and we had such an astronomical number, it was ridiculous. Like, I ended up going off a projected estimate of what we can accomplish in this town. We are gonna end up getting the money to end up covering that. So that's where I was hoping, even if we end up at least getting one of those roads done,
Mhm.
2 of those roads, before the end of the year, I'd like to have all those roads done. Now,
So that would just, so you know, completely wipe out all of chapter
chapter
90
90
money.
funding. Well, if you want me to hold off on doing projects in
I'm
town,
not saying hold off, I
no,
want everybody aware of how that.
I calculated the numbers to make sure that it would actually cover the jobs that we're gonna be doing,
Mhm.
projected planning. That's why I did that.
I guess the only.
Hello,
Yeah,
Go, oh,
hello.
this is Howard
Hi, Howard.
Rainey.
Hi, Rainey.
He is not mentioning one thing. Right now, we don't know what our actual allotment is for the new fiscal year. But there's talk about it being like 470 over 257,000. That's why if the bond goes through and we do get that allotment, there'll be a heck of a lot more funds to complete these. So we did not want to shortchange it with the possibility of these funds. If the funds don't come in, we can't do it, of course. Not all of it. But that was also one of the concerns when they put it in, was because if you put in a small amount, you're not going to get the pricing.
Yeah, but what does that do to them? I mean, these are our partners, so what does it do to them when if you ask for 12,000 ton and you only really need 8,000 ton, what does that do to them? Does that make them have material there, sitting there doing nothing because
No, they don't make the material until the projects are contracted. They're just looking at it as overall whether it's worth their bidding on. And frankly, everybody does it much higher than us and normally. Last time it was 10,000 tons, and he didn't have enough. Well, we're doing the project now, and that's a little over 350,000 when that was projected to be over $1 million then.
Okay. Well, I guess my only, just to throw it out there, this Jack, my concern of using all of it, and even signing up for all of Chapter 90, is if there is some catastrophic thing that happens, a major road gets washed out. I don't know, anything could happen. You have to have a backup emergency plan and funding for that. Otherwise, it's going to come from the town because there won't be any Chapter 90 left. So to eat it all is a little concerning in my mind. I don't know what could happen. I'm not the expert, you are, but I would just think that anything could happen where a road.
Well,
gets
what happens if nothing happens? Do we lose part
No,
of that
you
chapter
don't.
money?
We don't.
No, it rolls over year over year.
It builds like a bank.
It has a 10-year contract.
Yeah.
So
So,
isn't there work on Beach Hill Road that needs to be done?
Yeah, that was on my list too.
Yeah.
There's
Well-
numerous stuff that needs to be done in town that's been neglected. Like we have a
Yeah.
sinkhole over here on Kalen Road. Luckily, the state is gonna assist us, having meetings with them. They're gonna help us out with that. That is awesome. So like another thing, going down Russell Stage Road, right before Nybrook, we have a catch basin there that's completely washed out.
Mhm.
These are issues that need to get addressed. There's so many things just driving around town, looking on the side of the road, I can end up seeing, never mind just what's in the road and that you're feeling driving down the road that needs to get addressed. You go down Gore, that road.
Yeah.
I just, it's an atrocity to even be going down there. Making little plans to improve this town where it would be in good standings to last for the future is what we end up wanting to do. You want to Band-Aid stuff and all right, we'll spend 250 here, 250 there. It's
I'm
not
not
gonna get us.
saying
No,
that.
I know you're
I'm
not
not
saying
saying
it, but I'm just saying, if we try penny pinching it, it's not gonna last. And I just want to make sure we do the stuff right in town, you know?
I don't
Honestly.
disagree, but I do think that having some sort of a backup just in case of emergency
Mhm.
would be important too.
Okay,
because we wouldn't have the funds to do it. That's the
Okay.
problem.
all right.
Right? Just think about it and how much that would be, I don't know. But what you're talking about is really planning. You're planning ahead. You've got it laid out what you'd like to do. That's a goal. Achieving a goal, right?
Absolutely.
Right there. So I would, by coming to us and saying, these are all the things that is on the list, we may say, well, let's talk about this and what can wait, what can't wait, what shouldn't wait, together. I don't know if this, I'm new to the board, so you guys tell me no if I'm doing the wrong thing, but I'm just thinking that it might be beneficial for us to have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
I'm not a highway expert in any way,
But
shape, or form.
My only problem is if, I don't want to start micromanaging
It's not
something, well,
I
in
get
a
it.
sense, it's sensitive because there's a certain amount of money that has to be expended. There's certain things that are on his agenda
Sure.
that need to be addressed. And we only have a limited amount of time to address these issues.
Yeah,
And one emergency or one mishap can put us behind time and costs us a lot of money. So, we're working for these goals. Well, this is all fine and dandy, but we have to remember, Mother Nature does not like our hill towns. And, so things happen and they happen
Yeah,
quick.
I think everyone's aware of that though.
Well, they are, but it seems like, we're plotting this thing along and he knows what he has to get done.
Mhm.
So therefore, he knows that at any time, something can go wrong and eat up a lot of his time and funds.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, we have to allow for some kind of leeway.
Oh, yeah. No, and I'm not saying that I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying it would be good for us to have knowledge. I'm not saying I want to micromanage him because I wouldn't even know what to do because I don't know anything about highway. But at least if he had gone forth and spent all the money
Mm-hmm.
and something happened somewhere that wasn't in the plan,
liable for
it would be tough, right?
Right.
So I'm just saying that him sharing helps us understand, okay, how much
The other,
reserve.
sorry. Could I say one more thing?
Sure,
Go ahead,
sure,
Howard.
Howard.
The other thing he's really should say is, like, when he's talking about these problems in town, that's what you have your road account for, 115,000. So he's going to be doing those repairs out of that, not using Chapter 90 funds. And if it gets into a situation where your funds are gone, first thing you do, and Kara, I'm sure you've done it before, you put it into a request for a state of emergency, and then you can get additional funding. That I've been done many times.
So Rainey, you're saying that it's common practice to sort of
Eat the whole thing up.
evaluate or whatever, put in for more than you actually need?
No, what I was saying is this is a different year. This is a rather exceptional year. A few years back when, oh my God, I forgot the Governor Baker. He gave us $300 million. So there was a whole lot of additional Chapter 90 money.
Mhm.
A lot of towns went over in that circumstances because there was extra funds. Here we have a possibility of getting an additional 250 roughly. So that was looking for that. And when these people go for the bids, they know that that's a bond and a bill in the legislature right now. So they're also anticipating much higher usage. If it doesn't come through, that's the one reason why when you go to county bid, it's all based upon financial procurement.
So DOT doesn't frown on that?
DOT doesn't make the standards to county bid.
Okay. Okay, are we good with that?
And one last,
Mary, did you have a question?
How much money is in reserve funds? That
$45,000.
That's not enough.
No.
and one thing too, I wouldn't end up taking on a project without the knowledge of the board, honestly. That is, just want you to know, I wouldn't be doing that on us.
We were just surprised by the bid.
Yeah.
I mean, what has the bids been in the past?
Dave ended up, what was Dave's bid that he ended up putting in for asphalt last year? Can you look that up?
Yeah, I can look that up. We don't.
It was over 10,000 tons.
All right. Okay, so the last question I had, I want to wrap up the conversation about sick time for you. So I know that Sarah reached out and let you know she was in the office today. Did you get a chance to talk with her?
I was with the guys on Cobble Mountain, South Street from
Okay.
7 a.m. all the way until basically I poked my head in over there and I said, I just seen your email at 5:15.
Okay. So Sarah has spent a good amount of time looking into tracking all the data. She sent us the daily use spreadsheet, the union contract from 22-24, union contract 24-27, because that would have pertained to you at that point. And then the memorandum of agreement between the town and the union members at that time.
Is that with Dave, the conversation with the select board and how they basically told Dave to end up getting the information get signatures from everybody.
Thank
and-
you, Sarah. Do you want to come on up?
Come
This
on.
is all the information that Sarah has been able to find, all of our data tracking your sick time.
Mhm.
I'm trying to look at the sheet. For some reason, it's not opening.
So I believe we ended up, there was a shared
Oh, here it
email
is.
between everybody with Dave saying it was the select board saying to Dave to end up getting signatures from the guys to see what they are willing to donate. You see, I was in the ICU with Mike. He was in there for 30 days and I used up what I had. I know that. And then the guys, they said, yeah, we'll end up, I talked to Roger at the time because I was in the union. Said, yeah, we'll end up, that's the only thing that they can end up doing is donating time to you to help out cushion the, the burden. And, when I got back from taking care of Michael and getting back to work, I ended up thanking all the guys, thinking everything was all kosher. Dave saying thank you to him. Yeah, no problem. Everything was good. And then come to find out that none of that ever even happened. He never even lifted a pen or anything. I talked to Andrew. I talked to Jim. I talked to Matt. He said he asked us and then he said he was going to get back to us and never did.
He never did.
He dropped the
we
ball.
don't have any information on any donated sick time.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So where we stand now is the negative
99.
96.6, I think.
96, the one that's on your sheet was a little bit more than
Yeah.
what we calculated. So what the spreadsheet is what is.
Yeah.
What we would go with. So it's 3 hours less than what's on your time sheet, or more, 3 hours.
Okay.
Because you found other days that weren't calculated into the
I didn't-
past, or?
No, I didn't include those. We went based off of what was in Harper's and because the union contracts changed slightly, ever so slightly. It went from being able to do just PTO at some point, but the calculations came out in your favor by a few extra hours.
So it's
Off the
96 instead of the
spreadsheet
99.
Instead of what was in Harper's. So we just figured calculations on the spreadsheet would be the more accurate ones.
Okay.
So what we can do going forward is just, we were saying not docu the what would be accumulated sick time, I think, is that the way that we do it?
So his accrued time, he wouldn't accrue time until he evens out, right? So you're not taking any money from him, you're not docking his pay, which I think that's a decision that the board should make.
Yeah.
If you want to give him options, if you would rather have your pay docked and earn time, I don't know. I would rather not see your pay docked.
Yeah. So it would just be not accruing the sick time until we're balanced at the 0.
So what's the timeline, like 2 years, like what would the timeline be on that? Since we
You don't
got,
accrue sick time, so that's my understanding for. the
no
time
sick
that
time,
you
no,
need,
it's
right.
vacation time, that's what
Yeah.
it went from 12 and I think we went to 16.
16.
So I got 16 hours of vacation time that the town gave me a year.
So when your probationary period comes due, I believe you get it in one lump sum. It's from the way the contract with the
Job
policy and agreement is. So when you hit your probationary period, that full lump sum will come to you and we can at that point.
Just take it.
Take it and then you'd have what you would start at that point, and then that's what you have for the rest of the year left from there.
Do you know by any chance, why I've been paying union dues since I've been out of the
So
union?
we actually are fixing that. There's a few other things we have to talk about in our private thing that, and that was part of it. You're gonna actually get credit for that on this one, because we haven't ever got anything from the union to tell us to stop taking it. Usually we get something from the union to say, take dues, stop taking.
Could I be in the union and be the superintendent?
No.
So when we ended up doing the vote, when we were all here,
No,
okay,
yeah, because you were now management.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so now they have sent you something?
They didn't, but I mean, you can't do both, so
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
not gonna wait for them anymore. I was hoping to get something so we could do it, but now being the end of the fiscal year, I really want to clean everything up to make sure you get what you need to make it whole.
So he'll get credit for any union dues that were paid
Yes.
while he wasn't, okay.
All right, that'd be good. What about the sick time buyout, the $300 that the town was gonna reimburse me?
You had already gotten that back when first became,
Superintendent,
yes, should have been in that, the whole package.
I didn't see any, extra money in there.
But it's stacked.
Roughly what you.
What date we wanna go off of?
Was
The
it
date you
March?
signed the contract, it was March, it was around March, it was around St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
We only have till April 24th.
'Cause I went through all my pay stubs in the office and I didn't see any, $300,
Add to.
additions,
I'll
yeah.
go through, to see which one it was on and pull it, cause I can only see these calculations, I can't see the net, the total, and see if it's under regular pay. Or something else, so let me go back.
So if it's under regular pay, it got
Sarah,
taxed
can
then?
you talk a little
It will
louder,
get,
please?
it will get
Yes, I won't
taxed
be able to
because
get
it's,
that.
It's,
sorry, it would be taxed, but I'd have to see where it was put into, which pay it was put in and which category it was put into.
okay.
So I'll go right from March forward to see each time sheet and see if it was put in.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah.
thank you.
Are we good there? I just want to just make sure that like while we're all together, that we just wrapped. I felt like we were kind of talking in circles a little bit about with that conversation. I want to make sure that we're all good and on the same page.
I need to get back to you on, next meeting, if that's what we're gonna end up doing, because if that's the cards on the table, I need to make sure that that's gonna work, honestly.
So Sarah won't be with us next meeting, I don't think.
Yeah, but so the front, I have the data, I have the information, and I'll give that to you guys, and really it's up
Okay.
to you, I just have the data and can give you, I have all the pay stubs that
Okay.
I'll make copies of, and, you know, you can look at it, but, ultimately, I don't have a say in any of it,
Yeah.
I just will be dictated on what you guys make a decision to do, so
Okay.
I'll give you this information, make copies. for
Cause
you.
my understanding was, as a municipality, I couldn't apply for FLMA.
What, no, absolutely not, of course you can,
So Dave told me that I couldn't apply for FLMA
FMLA. And
with paid. I believe that was another thing. I couldn't get
The
paid.
paid.
it doesn't matter, so FMLA, whether, would be based off of what time you have, right? So you don't just get paid because you're on FMLA, if you have no time available and you apply for FMLA and you are granted FMLA, the town, the municipality, what have you, has to hold your position. They can't replace you. They can't say, that's it, he's been gone too long, right? So it protects your job. It doesn't, it's not like Geico or like those things when you get hurt, when you're Aflac, I'm sorry, Aflac. You know, you get paid when you're out of work and you don't have, you know, accrued time to take. So FMLA doesn't pay you.
No.
It just secures your job.
Okay. Well, then I probably filled that out because I still had my job when I came back.
I don't think anybody was looking to fire you. You wouldn't.
So either.
I'm truly sorry that that happened to you with the situation with, not
Just to
getting the sick.
put into
pay.
perspective though, what difference is that? Like, so the sick time that he thought he was getting, we don't even really know a number that was supposedly donated, right? There's no way to even know.
No way to know because Dave never collected a sheet from everyone saying, hey, I'm gonna donate 24 hours of vacation
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
you know, and Andrew even said, he was like, I was gonna give you a week because he was, you know, he had so
Yeah.
much time added up.
Yeah.
You know, Matt was gonna end up contributing time, like, it's a bummer, honestly, but I would not wanna stoop that low and not take care of my guys, so
Yeah.
won't be happening.
So that's where we're at on that. Our hands are tied with that.
I'll get
with
back
the
to you if that's all
information.
right. Let me really think about
So
what I
think
need
about
to do
which option you
financially,
wanna do.
honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a real toast of it. Thank you very much for finding all that out.
Sorry, they don't.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you.
Yes, actually, wait, sorry, Todd.
That's okay.
We can't do that. Okay, if you can just go through some bullet points for us I know you have a couple things you wanted to tell us.
How
about.
long has the town had Sunset Rock as a road? I've been here for 4 years. I'm just wondering, does anybody know how long it's
That
been
would be at
Sunset
the,
Rock?
we have to look up.
It gotta be eternity, cause,
So you can go on Mass DOT, you can see when it became a town accepted road
Okay,
on their maps.
so just to inform everybody, Sunset Rock never was a road in town. Did my research, it was Sunset Road. Whoever changed the sign out previous for me being in the seat or even working here.
Yeah.
Cause I've known that road as Sunset Rock this whole time we've
So
been
you're just saying
plowing.
it was mislabeled?
It was mislabeled. A family ended up contacting me earlier last week, said they're gonna be starting a business on the road. They're not getting, packages shipped. So they asked, look, if there's any way that we could end up relabeling the sign. So I went on the, GIS map. I went on our maps that we have in town and it was always Sunset Road.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up getting the proper sign, had the guys go out, cut the other sign down. We took that down and put the right sign back up and the family came out as the guys were doing the job and said, thank you so much.
Nice.
So that got taken care of within 24 hours. Luckily, we, found an old sign in the storage,
beautiful.
so we didn't even have to
Oh,
buy it.
that's crazy.
That worked out. 2 poles, I
Mhm.
met with, Eversource last week. And they're only gonna be moving 2 poles, the one, right, that's on the road side of the guardrail, they're gonna move it back 4.5, 5 feet. And then another one down the road, they're gonna put a 50-foot pole instead of 40. Raise the wires up so that any high traffic going through there is not gonna catch any of the, low hanging wires. And that's gonna be set back to the road, off the road itself, so with a projected future project of Gore, then I'd be able to put in proper drainage where we don't have to worry about the road falling apart in 5 years and it will hold together and it'll be a safe passing road. It'll be wider at that point. Hopefully we can end up cheating it a little bit more with the proper drainage. So that's something that August, I figured after July 1st, I'll have enough money. We can end up getting some stuff down in there, prep for them. Just want to end up taking a few little trees down and stuff around that area. They're gonna end up moving everything at no cost for the town. They have one tree that they asked that we just trim. So if the bucket truck needs any work, which we kind of got my hands tied right now, we did get it working. We figured out what the issue was, but July 1st comes around, you never know, a couple months later, we might need to put some more money into the truck. So at that point, when we're caught up on these lists of these roads to end up doing, and then the new quarterly goals. Want to go up there, we get some downtime and start trimming up the back so that they can get the poles set, we can work around them, pull out, they can drop the pole in the hole. And then at least we can start getting the work going up there and just projecting projects, like going back to chapter 90. It's one of them that we really do need to address. It is pretty serious on that road, especially by Bob's house there. It's horrible.
now, did they ever pick up the wires that were laying
3
on
weeks
that road?
later, 3 weeks later, so the state police called and put a ticket number in that day when that fell. I called a week later, and then I called 2 weeks later, and then finally, 2 days after that, they finally came out and restrung all those wires. And I did get contact numbers directly to Verizon because when I was talking with the rep on the phone, they said they do not have an emergency ticket number or, contact number to get a ticket for work like we do with Eversource. I have a number for Eversource. You call right away. They get someone out there within 24 hours. But Verizon, I have a good source of a contact now. So at least any Verizon stuff in town hopefully will be taken care of within a month. Literally. It's better than 2.
Oh, Verizon, don't give me started.
At least I'll have a ticket from someone, what else? Wednesday through Friday this week, we will be paving Cobble Mountain Road, going all the way down to the gate, pretty much Crooks Road. I had the guys today, we cut key cuts out so that we can end up having the overlay going nice and good transition. Was up on South Street Extension today, cut the road down a good 3 inches, got the ditches all good, went down there, turned around, leveled that out. The gentleman at the end of the road on the left coming out, it's gonna come out nice. We're gonna do a transition right to his driveway. It'll be We're gonna have some nice roads up in that area, and that's just, the only dirt road we're gonna have in that area is Hayden Road.
Mhm.
So for the future, even chip sealing that road would be nice, and then we don't have to worry about sending a truck out with a curved edge so you can do dirts, we can end up taking care of all the asphalts all in that circuit, it's a relief, so you don't have to send one truck down to do.
So this is the
an hour's-
Hayden Cobble Mountain Road project you're talking
Yep.
about, right?
Yep.
So we're not doing the full depth reclamation for that road, we're just doing the
Overlay,
overlay.
yeah. It's gonna
So
be-
that it's less expensive, but it doesn't last as long.
No, it's gonna last long. The road has a good base. I
Mhm.
met with Palmer Paving. I ended up, even Huck from All States came out, All States has nothing to do with this job at all, but to end up having like Rainey introducing me to these vendors, like it really, like these guys have knowledge. So it's like, just shut up and listen. Sorry. Just be quiet and just be quiet and listen to them because they really have a ball of knowledge. And, they'll tell you, no, you shouldn't do that. You really should, you got a good base here. If the road was falling apart, yeah, you should end up
So
milling
they
it down,
recommended not doing the full depth, just the chip seal. Did they give you like
overlay.
how many years they think that'll last?
Should be getting at least 5 to 10 years out of that, like
Okay.
good longevity, like that would be.
I mean, that's a span, 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years.
No, I'm saying that's a
Yeah.
big difference. If
Yeah.
the road fails after 5 years.
Yeah, that's-
or
Well, then-
after 10, like, that's a big difference.
Well, 5 to 10 years. It's gonna end up having a good base, which it already has. I'm just saying.
God, it just astounds me every time we talk about roads, how much it costs and how little amount of time.
And
that-
there's a monopoly out there for it too, just like power companies. Eversource owns this whole area,
Okay, next topic.
Go ahead.
Next topic, we have August 6th, we will be hosting a Bay State Roads course for UMass Amherst. I'm gonna be doing a chipping course. I ended up hooking up with them and
Nice.
we're gonna have a class, so I was hoping to end up taking this room over for the day, using the projector.
This
if
room
possible.
and the projector is becoming a major concern, 'cause
Why?
every time anyone else uses this room, they mess with all the equipment.
Really?
And we come into the meeting today and I'm getting messages at 4 o'clock, nothing's hooked up, everything's been unplugged. I believe it was library.
It wasn't the library.
It wasn't the library?
No.
Who was
I
it?
spoke to, I don't know.
Who was the culprit?
I don't know.
It was somebody, but
I'm gonna set up a calendar, so when somebody does use this room.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yes,
interview.
we need a calendar, they need to sign up in advance,
Right.
and then they also need to sign a waiver that they're not touching anything, because it's just been, it's.
Put a camera up in the corner.
So-
We're gonna put a ring camera up.
So Joanne, would you like me to coordinate that with you with the whole
Well,
projector or like I
Let's
just,
See, they're talking about. not
I don't
letting
want
anybody
Joanne and
use-
Christina to feel like they're in charge of this equipment and have to
No.
do anything with this equipment either. So that was all part of the decision to have this. I don't know, we have to talk about, do we want,
I do have a projector at home that I could bring.
well, I don't want you to have to do
And-
that. I think we have other projectors in the building, don't we?
it's in August, right? We'll
August,
figure it
that's
out.
what I'm
Okay.
saying, so,
So,
but
yeah,
it's
let's-
something that, you got, the select board wanted me to look for training for the guys. We got 2 free spots, that's $400 the town's saving right there, just to host it, so
Yeah,
it
no,
works out.
that's awesome.
Correct.
Let us
Oh.
just talk maybe next week about what we wanna do in terms
Okay.
of using this room, and we'll let you know
Alright,
what we decide.
is there anything in the gym, like, is there an old rolly projector out there, like with a big screen, or, like, if you want them out there, like, we could do that too.
Alright,
figure
we'll
it
talk,
out.
we'll figure it out, we'll let you know.
It's the
Okay.
right thing to do. so.
Alright,
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to look in that back closet.
Yeah.
I ain't going back there.
waiting for Beaver Solutions to get me a quote for
Okay,
the pond leveler.
yep,
So we walked out there and took a look at that. He's pretty surprised on how much water was out there. But he was gonna get back to me. I was hoping sooner than later, but been really busy. I just focusing on getting this project all taken care of and make sure everything
Okay.
is wrapped up with that. Another thing, I ended up getting a letter from Lakensi Bros, to whom it may concern. This is a
The Krinsky brothers is what it means.
Oh, for us.
Bros,
Krinsky.
brothers, yeah,
bruh,
bro.
I was just for clarification, sorry.
I was surprised to get this, but as the manager of the Krentsky Bus Company for the Gateway District, we are proud to provide reliable and safe transportation for the school students and to and from home. Their dedication and professionalism have made a significant difference in ensuring the safety of our students and on a challenging days when the weather is less than ideal. It is great comfort to know that you prioritize clear communication and prompt action, making our job as transportation providers far smoother than it's been in the past.
That's excellent.
Even with a few men working there, I can always count on them to be there when I need them. It isn't easy to deal with a bus load of students on these roads. Thank you for having such great employees
Good job.
and working for the highway
That boy
department.
on your wall.
Yeah.
I actually got 8 of these so far in the past 2 weeks from residents all over town that people are writing us letters and
Excellent.
they're really, thank you.
He wrote it himself.
Well overdue.
Thank you.
Folks online are saying positive things.
Good.
With you.
I'm glad to hear that, honestly. One last thing before I leave here tonight. Gibbs Road has water coming across the road very severely, and I spoke with Dick about it, and I did some hunting. The Franklin Land Trust ended up closing in Westfield, and the Winding River Land
Yes.
Conservatory ended up taking over the property, and they are out of no. Hold on, I got it written down here. It's up near Shelburne Falls.
Okay.
That's where they're at now. And I ended up talking to a woman, Elaine, and she has spoken with their board that they have that take care of these properties.
Mhm.
And they actually got the go ahead to pay for the permit, pay for the trapping, and take care of getting some beavers out of that section of road. Because
That's awesome.
every 3 days, going up there to pull the grade out, we have a lot more important stuff that we should be doing than,
Yeah.
cleaning debris off of the grades. So I ended up linking her up with Jen and
Great.
the trapper, and so far that was good. We don't have to end up worrying about payment, and
Yeah.
everything
great.
is
Good
taken care of
connection.
with that. So
Nice.
very nice woman.
Okay.
Thanks, Ray.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ray.
Bye.
Any
Good job.
questions?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, you did great.
Huh?
You did great.
I did great.
You have such an echo from it.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, have a good night, and congratulations, honestly, and sitting in that seat.
We're happy to have her.
Glad to have you aboard.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks,
No
Ray.
problem, thank you.
All right, Christina, what do you got for us?
I'm gonna be real quick. All right, Mission Clean Energy is
Thank
being
you.
very pushy, right? Every day emails, they
Yes,
wanna
I saw that.
Okay, I replied to Emma Riley from Mission Clean Energy, and I told her that she can't request a joint commission meeting that can only be done internally amongst departments. I advised her that per Blandford's process, she must first meet with the planning board to discuss any project proposals.
Yes.
She came back to me, and she said, I understand, thank you for your response. We have had a pre-application meeting with the planning board for our proposed project initially, and we were aiming to schedule a special informational session with the select board. Are we able to schedule a meeting with just the town select board? What do you want to do? Do you want to meet with these people, or do you want to have them just speak with the planning board first?
This is informational regarding
Beth,
Beth.
I think that they should go through the proper channels with the planning board.
And they haven't gone through that yet.
They have a pre-application meeting. I don't know.
I've made Paul aware that she's doing this. He emailed her and said, no, I am not bringing you forward right
Okay,
now.
yeah, no,
to
then,
the select board.
no.
So we're all
then-
on the same
yeah.
page?
Are you guys okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Last week, I met with PVPC with TJ and Mr. Gates to discuss the proposed, best facilities. We shared background information with PVPC and discussed the option of Blandford, filing an intervenor petition. An intervenor petition allows the town to formally participate in legal and regulatory proceedings, but only once a facility is on the docket for the siting board, which there is no facility on the siting board's docket in Blandford
Okay.
right now. So PVPC will be consulting with other regional planning commissions on how similar matters have been handled in their
Good, okay.
communities. With the new fiscal year coming, PVPC expects local technical assistance funding may be available to assist us further, which is what we've utilized with them in the past, right? So if we have something that comes up, we fill out a form saying, yes, we want your assistance, and they do it for free.
Okay.
I also updated Nicole Sanford from Springfield Water Sewer, who confirmed the commission's interest in staying involved due to the potential risks to their infrastructure. Speaking of Springfield Water Sewer, I got a letter from James Loria. He's the director of water operations for Springfield Water Sewer, and he notified the town that land near Birch Meadow Brook wetlands is being mowed by an unknown resident.
Yeah, I saw that.
This land is within the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone and is protected under the Wetlands Protection Act. In response, Springfield Water Sewer will place boulders and signage to prevent further trespass and environmental impact. They've included pictures with the letter. They don't know who's.
It's not near a cemetery, it's not.
No.
Done by, yeah.
No.
A resident must be doing it.
Yeah, they believe it to be a resident, but they don't.
Okay.
Sure. And since it's open field,
Right.
they're not posting a sign, they're just gonna, plus that wouldn't stop anyway. Highway garage and salt shed. Jason Ford completed his inspection of the salt shed and highway garage. He recommends engaging with a registered design professional to address the ongoing issues. He also noted that the open floor drains should be sealed properly until plumbing corrections are made. Currently, only one steel plate is covering them. So that was his recommendation. Generator maintenance. Kinsley Power came out and conducted a level 1 inspection on May 29th. They recommend replacing the battery and block heater. These things come across my desk constantly. We did an inspection and you need to do this. It's way over my head. I reached out to John Hoppy. I asked
What
him.
is this again, the vendor?
Kinsley.
They do the maintenance for.
So whether, I mean, it's Kinsley, we've seen Encore, we've seen all of
Yeah.
these different companies. So I reached out to John, I said, if this is not within your scope, please let me know, but could you give me some guidance? He does believe that the battery and the block heater should be replaced, and they gave us a quote for $1,859.12 for all of that work.
Okay.
Would you like me to proceed with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The FY 24 audit's underway. I met with Tony and Sarah. They're doing their thing. there's not much of an update there. The RCAP Solutions Agreement, I will email that to Mr. Starbard. Communications with Mr. Kana. I have not had time to speak with him about
Mr. Who, I'm sorry?
Kana,
on Chester
Rudy
Road.
Kana. He's 71 Chester Road. His property got all dug up.
All right.
The board signed in order to agree to this right of entry, and I haven't had time to see, it's gonna be a very long conversation. He felt very comfortable with you, TJ. Would you be comfortable talking to him? And
Yeah, give me what information he needs.
you got it. Thank you so much, TJ. I appreciate that. Summer meeting schedule. When would the board like to begin the summer meeting schedule?
Yesterday. Are we good with starting to go to every other week? After next week, or are you feeling? The way we've done in the past is we're formally going to every other week. If there's things that we feel
That come
like
up, then
we really need to meet next week, as long as we know by Thursday, because that's when they post it, then we can.
Do you want to start like the first week of July?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll
that
meet.
would
There's 2 more meetings in June.
Yeah, so 2 more meetings in June, and then skip the first week of July, because I think, I don't know, when the
No
4th
way.
of July, what it falls on.
And then departmental roundtables that I had suggested in the past, we would like to start those in July.
Yes, the department head.
Yep.
And I know there's a big list of things that we need
Yes.
to talk about on those.
Yeah, I submitted the ADA grant for the ADA compliant upgrades to town hall.
Yeah.
So that's in, and our hazard mitigation plan meeting, the second public meeting for the hazard mitigation plan is scheduled for this Wednesday at 6 PM. Ms. Contender.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Thank you.
In terms of Jason's recommendation.
Yep.
What does that entail? Reaching
Sure.
out to, like, do we have funding for that? What's
Well, it depends. It depends if they deem it an emergency. We could do an emergency procurement under chapter 30B. It has to be registered with the Inspector General's office, and Attorney General's office, and the OSD. If it's an immediate hazard to health and
Jason did not think that was the case?
you saw what he had written. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not calling it.
He's just suggesting.
He's saying his suggestion, his exact words were, to have a registered design professional to take a look at it. So basically what Jason's saying is he can't quote how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
You know, what needs to be done first. He's just saying, yeah, you guys gotta get somebody in here. With that being said, I think that the overall cost would probably fall within RFQ type of territory there. So, but if it's deemed an emergency procurement, you can follow best practices and go about it as carefully as you can without having to do the whole RFQ if it is an immediate danger to health and safety.
This was my concern, was that we were gonna have highway issues and we're still not anywhere near where we need to be on fire.
I was in that room and, it makes it sensitive.
It's bad,
Yeah, it is.
So what do you guys wanna do?
Well, the challenge is this, is that we're gonna hit up against winter. And those guys are gonna have to go outside
Yeah.
to use
And
the facilities.
Are you
Right.
guys are talking about the bathroom facility?
What are you talking
I
about?
was talking about the salt,
Salt
aren't you
shed?
talking about the salt shed? Yeah,
Both. So the salt shed, I don't know necessarily poses an immediate. I don't know.
okay, so we're just
Not as
talking
much as
about,
the bathroom.
the bathroom is a separate issue from the rest of the entire, because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
working on the
Okay,
bathroom
yeah.
right now.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
rest of the building,
We're not working on the bathroom right now.
I don't know.
yeah, we paid to have the plumbing done, right? Or we hired the
Were you
plumber.
pointing at me? That was the post office.
I thought he brought bids to us and
no. There,
am I losing my mind?
He
we
brought
just
two
had, we
bids.
just had it inspected.
But
But he brought bids
He
to us.
brought. he
But it
brought
was
a
two
bid
bids for two
plumbing
different
and
parts of the
something
job.
else, Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
And we approved those.
no,
We didn't?
no.
He asked him for more bids, I think.
Cause it fell within the procurement, so, and you
3
can't
bids.
split the job up. So he, I believe, had a price quote from Mark Boomsma for something, and then another price quote from somebody else for another part of the job.
Right.
It's all one
So
job.
I should have asked him tonight.
Yeah,
where he's
because
at.
that has to be all replumbed right to the tank.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we need him next meeting to come to us with those other prices so we can get moving on that.
Oh, right?
Right.
Ray needs to obtain at least 3 quotes, or, no, he needs
Two
to
additional.
try to obtain 3 quotes, and he has to be able to document. that
I
he reached
remember,
out to
he
3
had
people.
tried, he just had nothing in writing.
Right.
So we were asking him to get that in writing in an email to you so that we could move forward with
Procurement
approving those things. Okay.
Okay.
So that's where we need to go to move forward with that. I was asking, do we need to have someone come in to be looking at the rest of the highway garage, even though we're not in a position to be putting any money into the highway garage right now?
Oh, it wouldn't hurt to look into it.
Yeah, but it costs a lot of money to hire a design specialist. I mean, what's the point in spending money on a design specialist if
Well,
we have no intention?
Can't the building inspector just do an assessment on the whole building?
That's what he
He
did.
did, he said.
He
he's-
did an assessment on the
Yeah.
whole building?
Well, he did the wall, I guess there's
Yeah.
the whole entire building,
Well, I
I
mean,
don't know.
It's just the bathroom that we're talking about,
Yeah,
I
right?
think that was the
That-
only
And we
request.
That's
gotta
the
get it
priority.
Oh,
safe. We
I
gotta
thought
get
he was
the-
looking at the whole building.
No,
Okay,
no, just the
then I
bathroom.
misunderstood. Okay, so then we just need Ray to get us those 2 other things in writing.
Right.
I talked to him about it last week, he knows,
Okay.
but he said he's got a lot of other stuff going on.
yeah, he's got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, but that seemed like that was a high priority concern from the last time when you first started talking about. Because it's
Yeah, but-
unhealthy for the workers trying to
Right.
clean up and standing water and, to clean up that their
Absolutely.
job before they can even eat their food and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Okay, so motion to approve warrant number 26 payroll for payment and warrant 26 accounts payable wired payments.
so moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we've been through everything on there. We already did public comment, Mary, so I can have you.
Question,
Ooh,
to clarify, please.
yes.
You're gonna do summer schedule for July 7th and July 21st.
To have meetings on those days?
Yeah.
No, the first two.
Every other week.
The 7th is the first Monday. It's the Monday after 4th of July.
Yeah, I think that would be.
She said skip the first Monday.
Yes.
So we'll go
Yeah.
to the
Skip the first
14th.
Monday. So we're gonna do the 14th and the 28th.
14th and the 28th.
So the 14th, yes. 28th, yes. Yep,
Okay, and we got.
and that'll,
Reorganize.
no,
Are
we
you
didn't,
going to reorganize?
not yet. I don't know, we haven't talked about it yet,
Okay,
And
and
the board.
the bathroom in question is the one up at the highway garage.
Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything with the salt shed.
Not at this time.
Not, okay.
That gets the priority, is that bathroom.
Okay, thank you.
God, what, these microphones are driving me crazy. All right, thank you. Meeting closed. 8:10.
Was that my fault? No.
No,
Everything's your fault. You're the bottom one on the totem pole.
Christina, this is beautiful. Do you want me to frame it?
Oh, I love.
No.
Why?
Why would you?
Yes,
Now that your meeting's over, exactly.
yeah.
Just food for thought, I sat in on that less than pleasurable meeting about the solar farm and the best. But honestly, I think it was, I don't care, piss poor